Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Marketing Detective, the award winning podcast Marketing Detective, as we delve into some of the mysteries surrounding the marketing world. And one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest requests we've been receiving is information about what local businesses need to be doing now as we come out of COVID 19, or are we about to go back into COVID 19 with this Delta variant? We'll talk a little bit about that as well. But our focus today on the Marketing Detective, local businesses, challenges, and opportunities. So, our focus today, we're talking about local businesses, and there is no better expert to talk about local businesses than my guest today. Her name is Lindsay Wells-Putt, and she is the digital sales manager at Fox 59 and CBS 4 in Indianapolis, Indiana, the 25th largest market in the DMA in the country. And Lindsay, I want to thank you for joining us today. It is so good to have you. How's the weather in Indy?
It's gray, but it's nice. The heat finally broke.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, I guarantee you it's probably a little cooler than it is here in Dallas these days. We're about a mile from the sun these days here in. I made my producer Ben laugh with that one. So we don't even need a laugh track. Before we kind of dive in to some of the challenges and opportunities for local businesses, Lindsay, I've been so impressed with your resume. I had the privilege of interviewing you when you were up for this job. And after talking to you, the other candidate that looked fantastic on paper, really fantastic, I just threw it away. Because I knew who I wanted to be leading our efforts, and the person I wanted in that leadership role there in Indy. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've made your way back to the 25th largest market?
Yeah, I am from Indianapolis, but I did not start my career here. I started in radio and then quickly got into TV as fast as I could, but I worked in Huntsville, Alabama for about 9 years. And then I was lucky enough to go to Nashville, Tennessee, which had a blast, working for a great station there. And all the while just fell in love with digital. I sold TV, but digital was definitely my favorite thing to sell and to work with local businesses on. So when the opportunity to come back home to Indianapolis came, I quickly called you, and I think I was pretty persistent until I was able to get an interview.
Well, listen, you came highly recommended, and I have to tell a little story. So I called my friend Tracy over at in Nashville, and I said, "Hey, have you heard of this Lindsay character?" And she goes, "Yes." I go, "Well, that was quick." She goes, "Are you looking to hire her somewhere?" I said, "Well, actually, yeah, as our digital sales manager in Indianapolis." She goes, "Get her out of Nashville, please. Get her out of Nashville." And let me tell you, that's a pretty good endorsement right there, if I don't say so myself. We
Good,
are,
not bad.
and
Yeah.
what you have done in such a short period of time with that staff, you really are in a rebuilding stage there at the station. You've done, you and Allison and Aaron and the whole team have done an incredible job in the sales department to really cultivate a new culture there, and getting back to the roots of consulting selling and making sure that at first we do no harm to our advertisers. So with that, let's just talk a little bit about, let's take the temperature and let's just look at Indianapolis, because I think Indianapolis is a pretty good indicator of what's happening around the country. What are you seeing today as you're talking with local businesses? What are some of the challenges that they're bringing to you, Lindsay?
It is a little all over the board. I don't go in just wanting to talk digital. Obviously, that's what I'm focused on. But I will tell you that the local businesses are really reassessing their budgets coming out of the pandemic, and also making plans on if we go back into a shutdown or
Mm.
any type of changes there. But to start with, the first thing that seems to come up is reassessing the search budgets and trying to make sure that there's no wasted dollars. Trying to teach the local businesses about why, making sure, geography comes into play when it comes to search, the
Mm.
near me and the voice searches are so popular right now. I think the last thing I read was over 50% of searches are through voice commands. So trying to make sure that the local businesses are aware that, we need to be bidding on words and longer phrases that are not just, plumber near me or, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So
And then
changing
also,
and really
oh,
just
sorry.
change. Oh no, that's all right. Changing the nuance of some of those audio searches, and we've discussed this on the Marketing Detective before about some of those nuances needed to change. So yeah, that's very important that you're coming alongside them and helping them understand how those voice searches. And yes, isn't that incredible? 50%. I've read that stat too. Of voice commands. Boy, have we become so lazy we can't even type
I
into
mean,
our
it's
browser.
true. And I mean, I ask, Alexa every day, find me stuff. So she's my best friend. So you want to make sure that your business is showing up in those searches, but majority of searches are still on mobile. So is that
Mm,
business ready? Is those site mobile friendly? Does the
mm,
phone number? There's been so many businesses I've walked into that the phone number doesn't even work on a mobile phone if I click to call them.
mm.
Um, so, just things like that, making sure that they're ready because if we do an OTT campaign, even if a TV campaign gets started, you know, is that customer going to be able to find that business easily?
I want to back up just a second. First of all, when we started, and I love what you said that while your focus is on digital, really at the station you work hand in hand with the television station. The power, what I call the one-two punch that you need in this industry, is the power of television and the targeting and capability that comes with digital. The two of them working together, they see that commercial on television in what we call a terrestrial setting, and then of course maybe they see it on OTT, which is over the top streaming services, again, reinforcing that message, the closest we have to TV, but really then taking that, and you kind of mentioned it when we talked about search budgets. If I could go back, just because you had mentioned reassessing search budgets, and obviously we know that the voice command is one piece, and I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you what your opinion is on this. I think that it's a race to the bottom with search sometimes. I think you can get to diminishing returns very fast by focusing on these keywords, and you can run through your budget very quickly by those keywords. What are your thoughts on diversity of maybe taking some of that search budget and putting it across other platforms that we can deploy? What are your thoughts on that, Lindsay?
Absolutely. I've done audits on businesses where 80% of their traffic was coming from, their own branded term. So, if majority of their budget is going to search and, people are not coming to them because of, that money, then we do need to reallocate it. Just, putting in targeted display, email blasts, streaming services, whether it's video or, something like Spotify, just to find a different audience because as you know, Mitch, such a small percentage of our time online or on our phone is through a search engine.
Mm,
There's other ways of finding those customers.
mm.
So I always try to give what I call that media mix to where even in the digital landscape, they are, trying different products, different platforms, and really seeing, the conversion is the highest for them.
You touch on a very important aspect, and it's something that you guys do very well. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on as a guest is the retention that you guys are seeing. And we just went through review previous, where I'm going with this. Your retention is relatively so low to your budgets. And I think it's because you do this temperature check thing where you're going in and you're evaluating. You have some a really good IDS. I think you're hiring another IDS, right? You're in the.
No, yeah, we just hired one.
Oh,
We have
you
two
okay? So you've
IDSs.
got you
Yeah,
now.
yep, and I'm
Yeah,
hiring a digital sales coordinator.
yes. And where did Carrie come from? She came from one of my other stations.
Casey. She came from St. Louis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They still
Exactly.
your name is a cuss word in that market for stealing her, by the way. But you guys do these temperature checks, and what I love about it is what I always say is that good reporting leads to great retention. And one of the things that you guys do really well, and I see it behind the scenes because I see every email that goes to ad ops, it goes to a folder, but I check it every once in a while, is that you guys have a real fluid philosophy on what's working and what's not working. And, as you're taking a look at the dashboard that we give our clients access to, you're making those assessments. And do you find that businesses are giving you the authority to kind of fluidly change some tactics without having to go get full on approval because they know that your best interest? Tell us how you do that and the response that you're getting from some of our clients as a result of that.
Absolutely. The temperature check is the one of the most important things in the process. Even at the beginning of the first 7 days of a campaign, we send screenshots, we send the account executive an email, to send to the client, hey, this campaign is live, within the first 48 hours. But we do give the client access to our amazing dashboard. Some clients use it, some don't. But we always try to do that temperature check just so if optimizations need to happen, or if something's not converting the way we thought it was gonna, we have time to make changes. And there's been several times where we will notice a particular ad size or ad set is performing better than another ad set, and we will move impressions over to make sure that the campaign is, running exactly how we sold it.
And that really,
sorry not to interrupt, but majority of the time we set those expectations up during the call, at the close of the deal. So the clients have never really pushed back. There's only been a few, one in particular who only wanted to bid on 7 terms. So that was keyword targeting, search, everything. And so if we under delivered, she knew that was okay because it was a very niche campaign.
And going back to doing those temperature checks really helps you be more efficient and more effective with the campaign that you're given. It is a privilege for us to be stewarded this investment. We need to be very wise and treat it as if it's our own money, and make sure that we're giving a high level of return on investment. One of the things that you mentioned is that expectation. I think that is one of the biggest shortfalls that account executives, advertising executives, marketing executives, marketing detectives are all struggling with, is managing expectations. And the reason I want to touch on that is, and Lindsay, you and I have had this conversation. If someone's budget and their expectations are not in line in terms of what they think they're going to get for that investment, then we are destined to fail. Because their level of, oh, well, I expected this, your budget has to be aligned with those expectations. In a market your size, what is the starting point? Because I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is trying to figure out, okay, I'm a local business. How much should I be investing in a market the size of Indianapolis, which is obviously expanding and growing, and it has over the last couple of years? What is that? Where's the starting level? And please include TV and digital in this number too, since it's
Sure.
2 buckets that we cover.
Sure. I mean, I do represent 2 different stations. The Fox side is, I would say more expensive than the CBS side, depending on the programming. Obviously we do offer, sports, and, Colts football is priced completely differently than, let's say, daytime programming. I would say on average for a platform campaign, you're looking minimum $5,000 a month in Indianapolis. Now, Mitch, when it comes to digital, though, it does depend. We do have campaigns that are as low as $1,000 a month, but we're talking 1 zip code. We're talking maybe 4 or 5 days. It's a very small flight. So we try to have options for any size client, but we do set the expectations of, if you want television on Fox or on CBS, plus digital, including core products, as well as our extended audience, you're looking to start around $5,000 a month.
Okay, and I do appreciate, because as soon as you say 1,000, I'm glad that you clarified what that is. That's one zip, short
One zip.
window. Because that of course is, everyone races to the bottom. Okay, I'll take that $1,000 package. Well,
Yeah.
there's and by the way, I didn't mean to pigeonhole you into saying give me a number, but I think it's also important to really have the conversation. And I think, Lindsay, it's what you do so well, when you talk to someone, is that you really listen. You listen to their needs. You listen, and I've seen it firsthand, that it really is what sets you apart. And I think it's the secret weapon that we fortunately have now in your market. So you also mentioned Alexa, and I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that I am Alexa in my house, and what that means is. We do a big Oscar party every year, and Adam's, call it, he goes, Alexa, could you get me a wine? And someone goes, your Alexa can bring you some wine? And I go, no, I'm Alexa. That's me. I'm the one getting the wine. So a little shout out to my husband there. I am Alexa at the house. As we talk about the local businesses, because we kind of talked about the makeup, the strategy, and things like that. What are you hearing in terms of their fears right now? What is it that's keeping some of our local businesses up at night?
A lot of it comes down to employment and recruitment. In Indianapolis, we're having issues with staffing. I will say over the last few weeks, even since you visited Indianapolis, Mitch, we have signed 4 deals just with recruitment campaigns, all different types of industries.
Mm-hmm.
And they are categories that we haven't really ever seen on television and on digital here at the station. So it's an opportunity for us, but we do know that the local businesses are having issues, just staffing up. Restaurants are having issues.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing signs all over. So that would probably be the biggest one.
So let's talk a little bit about recruitment, because I spent the weekend in Myrtle Beach, and we couldn't go to a restaurant that didn't have more than an hour and a half, 2 hour wait for a restaurant, and there was nobody in there. And so
Wow.
and every place you went had a sign apologizing before you walked in to say, sorry, we don't have the staffing. And it also affected Uber drives and Lyft drives, as well, is that there aren't enough people. And I will tell you, I think I was in the market when we actually said it was around January 15th was the end of those benefits. But I guess there's still this residual effect that people are kind of floating on the money they got. Well, and then they got the children's tax credit just came through too. So it's like maybe that's helping them get a little further down the road. So, but I could see as that being a challenge, is recruitment, and I think it is something I think we do very well. People have often seen us as a multi-marketing group that helps advertisers connect with consumers, but we also are really good at recruitment because we use the same philosophy and the same tactics and platforms that we were using to connect with consumers now to connect with businesses. And matter of fact, I'm doing a big seminar for my Alabama stations next week on recruitment trends, and it's called
Yeah.
who moved my customers, who moved my candidates. And so we're going to be diving into that. If you're interested in tuning into that, you can register. Just send me a private message and I will get you a link. You will need to register beforehand. Sorry, I had to plug that there since that's happening this next week. We only have slots for 200 and we're at 150. So I'd like to get to a full 200 on our slate. So outside of recruitment, anything else that you're hearing from our clients that are saying this is a challenge for us?
No, I mean, the largest piece of the conversation has been, how can they track their spend and their conversions, especially in the digital platform. I'm just seeing so many businesses really tighten up that budget and making sure every dollar is being used aggressively, and even stretched how they can track those conversions or foot traffic or, any type of data. We do have an advantage with our dashboard that I can immediately get in there if they are a client and, calm those fears and show them exactly what's going on. We do encourage all of our campaigns to give us read-only access with Google Analytics. before we start the campaign. So that does help us as well. But we have, businesses that are set to join us at the end of this quarter that are brand new to us that strictly came to us because of analytics and dashboard access. So, I'm pretty proud that, our account executives are showing that. They're showing them how they can use that for their business, and then make those decisions on a budget that way.
I just wrote down Google Analytics and read-only access because I wanted to touch on that. That is, for some of our markets in the country and some local businesses just don't want to give that access. I'm going to tell you why I tell them they should give us access. I'd love to hear your insight on that, and maybe I could tee it up for you. What I tell them is the reason we ask for that read-only access, and it's read-only. We're not manipulating or changing everything or going into their website at all. It's really giving them the how and the why behind the clicks and the impressions that are delivered to really kind of show them who is coming to your site, how many pages deep are they going, when are they leaving, and are we getting the conversion? So what are your thoughts on convincing companies to give us that read-only access?
Believe it or not, I do tell businesses I will not start a campaign without that read-only access. I
really
need that. Yeah, there are a couple categories, and I pause at the beginning because there are a couple categories that don't grant that to us, like banks, a lot of universities, some healthcare. Unless it's a much smaller
and healthcare for I didn't mean to cut you off, but healthcare for our audience for clarification is really because of HIPAA violations and regulations. Okay. All right.
So, but other than that, when it comes to pretty much majority of the campaigns we run, we do require read-only access. That just helps us not only go deeper into those recaps when we do those at the end of the month for every campaign, but, if there's an issue or if there's questions about the campaign, we can immediately dive into the dashboard for our end of analytics. But for me to go one step further and see what's happening on their site, I need access to that. And I tell them, I say, it's read only. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to change anything on the site, but I'm just going to help them, make sure that their money is being spent wisely and that any changes we need to do make sense.
Listen, I need to make sure that we are making that a policy company wide, because you're right. I was in regional director meetings this week here at corporate, and one of the things that came up is the access to read only, and I know that there are for healthcare and for some universities. And what I found out with the university, because we have quite a few major universities that we work with, and one of them wasn't the access to the Google Analytics, it was the ad tags are out of the control of the department because there's like universal umbrella ad tags for the whole university rather than generating new ad tags just for that department and their efforts of recruiting new students. So it's very interesting.
And to go on to the university, Mitch, if I can add, typically we work with a lot of universities here in Indianapolis, and if you find the department that you're working with, for instance, the law school, Indiana University for example, has the business school, they have law, they have all sorts of different departments. If you find the IT person who's in charge of that department, typically we can get in and get their email and they can show us what they're seeing. But I do want to make everybody aware that, the UTM codes are so important when it comes to these campaigns, especially for the categories you can't have read-only access, because you have to label it to where they know directly that traffic is related to your campaign. But make friends with the IT guy or girl, and it does help out.
That's right. Yeah, being politically correct there, and I like that, and I'll recap that in my final thoughts. That's great advice on reaching that IT person. Before we move on to what I want to talk about, retargeting as part of these campaigns, can you share with our audience what a UTM code? I always say it's the address from which an ad came from. Could you share a little bit about what UTM codes are?
Just think of it as a label on a jacket. It tells you where it came from. I mean, it's very, it just, all of my UTM codes are labeled either, Fox 59 or CBS4 or Nexstar, social, Nexstar, retargeting, anything that shows that that came from this campaign. And every single product has its own UTM code. So it's all labeled individually. So again, if I'm on that read-only access in the Google Analytics, I know what product is working and maybe something else that we need to change if it's not working.
I love that. I'm going to steal that label on a jacket. That's better than the home address. I like that.
I'm a designer label. So
well,
I'm not.
You know, in Dallas, how we hug like this. We're looking at the label on their jacket to see what they're wearing.
I was in Tennessee. It's very much the same.
Oh, there you go. That's right. That's right. Because you were in Nashville. That's right. Little Texas, right up there. What was it like living in Nashville? Did you enjoy that?
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was really hard to leave Nashville.
Oh, well, hopefully we made an attractive offer for you to want to come. To come join us. I want to touch a little bit on retargeting before we kind of delve into some other, what I call my Oprah Winfrey questions for you. But what's the importance of retargeting, and why should that be part of every campaign?
It's super important because, like I said before, not all of our time online is spent on a search engine. So, why go after those bid terms? AdWords is important and you should do it. But if you don't have the budget to bid on, 50% or better, then you need to sprinkle in some retargeting, and especially keyword retargeting. Because if somebody's making those searches and they're obviously interested in those topics, then we can serve them ads, after they, been on a couple sites, and still follow them throughout the month of the campaign.
Yeah, following them in the consumer journey, because I always say that every day there is an army of consumers that are looking for our clients and our advertisers' products and services. Every day, a different consumer, and depending on where that consumer is in the journey, they could be in the awareness and the search portion. They could be in the evaluation and consideration, or actually ready to make a decision. We want to make sure that we are using that retargeting tool to, and I like the other thing that you'd mentioned. You go, if you can't afford to get 50% or more of those keywords, this is a great alternative. Let's let somebody else buy the keyword and let us retarget the audience that we know have done those searches. So
absolutely.
Go
after your competitor sites and retarget, after they have visited on the competitor site. There's even ways to do view through pixels. They don't even have to click on the banner ad that they've been served. But if they go to your site within that 28 days, that can count as a conversion. There's a lot of different things we can do to, again, make sure that their money is being spent wisely and not just running ROS banner ads everywhere.
I love that. Conquest marketing's been around for a long time. Automotive has done it for years, but I think more and more of our advertisers, and with the help of our Nexstar digital team, has really helped educate markets on and advertisers on how to use that particular product. It is a great product. It's very Big Brother, but it is a great product. Let me ask your opinion, not necessarily your opinion, but experience with social listening. That's become a big topic of conversation, and I know a lot of local businesses are asking about it. Matter of fact, it was one of the questions when I got submissions, because I asked for submissions on ideas for episodes, and I heard from a lot of local businesses that had emailed me and said, hey, I want to know more about this, and in particular, what's going on with my Facebook listening to me. So talk to me a little bit about social listening from your perspective, and I've got some insight that I'll share after you.
From our perspective, it's very expensive. It does take a large amount of data to be able to serve those impressions. But still, as a user experience, it's difficult because a lot of customers look at businesses that do that as it's a little creepy, it's a little stalkerish, even though it does work. We still are finding that those are the quickest ads that get hidden first. So you just have to be careful when implementing that into a campaign. But It's definitely something we've tried. You do need a lot of data to be able to see those conversions quicker.
Well, there you go, setting expectations too, that it's very expensive and you do need a lot of data to make that work. I will tell you from my experience, and I've had quite a few occurrences where this has happened, but the first time I recognized it, my best friend Ron and I were both sitting at brunch, which is the gayest meal of the week, on Sunday, and we're waiting on we had this discussion of TSA versus Clear. And I have TSA PreCheck and I have Clear. So because TSA PreCheck is now as long as the regular line, so now Clear in the markets where they have it. Which, by the way, Chicago, get with the program. You need Clear and your airports. It's not 1950, please. That's my direct appeal to you if you're watching or listening. So what had happened is we were talking about TSA PreCheck. Ron did not have TSA PreCheck, but I had both. I said, well, I have TSA PreCheck and so does Adam, but Adam doesn't have Clear, but I do. He now does, and I'll tell you why. So we get out to the valet, because you don't park anywhere in Dallas, and we're waiting on our cars. He opens his phone and he goes, oh my God, look at this. He opens Facebook and it says, join Clear today, and it gave him a discount code. I open my Facebook and it says, add a family member to Clear for just $50 more. So it knew that my partner wasn't on, but his was, and that he needed it initially and I needed to add someone. So what do you think happened? I added Adam for $50. So now he's on my Clear account. So we know that it's out there. We know that it can work. But you're right. And great wisdom there to provide to our clients. Be careful, because they are going to connect you with Big Brother kind of watching over us.
I use it in my own household. I'm always telling my husband's phone stuff I want so that, I can make sure that those ads are in front of him. But
I love
it is expensive for a business. A local advertiser here in Indianapolis, tends to find it difficult to spend that much money to get the conversions right away. But I think it's cool.
So, Lindsay, let me ask you, we here another, again, is an Oprah Winfrey question. We talked about what we think keep our clients up at night. What advice would you give a local business that is coming now out of COVID? And let's just from my lips to God's ears, that we can get past this variant, and it's a bump in the road, not a barricade. If we can get out of that, so all things in a perfect world, we can get back to the world we knew in 2019. What advice would you give a local business that knows they need to advertise, but has not pulled that trigger?
Honestly, it's as simple as saying, don't buy based off of your own pattern or behaviors, because since COVID, we've seen so much has changed just in streaming, retargeting, the voice searches, everything, even down to, putting QR codes on your OTT, commercials on a smart TV or even on your television campaign. Even though a business may not, use OTT devices themselves or get on social media a lot, doesn't mean that their customer doesn't. And behavior patterns changed so much post-pandemic that you really need to be able to try these new platforms and target. Go after that demographic that you want, that spends the largest amount in your store or showroom or on your website, and try to find those people, what I call like a sniper approach, and go after that audience as aggressively as you can with your budget.
I like that you mentioned that sniper approach, because it's very targeted, and the only area that obviously you and I know that little goes a long way, like salt in a meal, is on OTT. Like, have a couple of things you're looking for: household income, those kind of things, age, demographic, things like that. But then keep it fairly open, because we want to make sure that we're casting a broad enough net, and we know that number is growing in the indie market, and I think this will be reflective of what's happening around the country. let's talk just briefly about cord cutting. Because it's something else that has come up. And matter of fact, of the 15 emails I got, 7 of them said, "Hey, what's going on with cord cutting? What's the latest? What do you know?" So I'll share some national statistics. But before I do that, I wanted to just hear from you. What are you hearing in Indy? What are you seeing in Indy?
I mean, I think the last numbers I saw was from May, 73% of our market is on a streaming device. So no longer can buyers, media buyers, or business owners say that streaming is, something that they don't want to be a part of. Now it's, well, who does streaming best? And it's still that wild, wild west where, what I call streaming might not be what my competitor calls streaming. For example, I don't include pre-roll, and just being as transparent as possible. But, yeah, in Indianapolis, it is real, it is here, and we're seeing large advertisers make big buys on it. And so it has completely changed the landscape.
And it is something, not to plug our own products and services, but it's something that we can do across the board. We can reach those publishers out there, the Bravos of the world, the TNTs, the TBSs, and so on. I'll share with you 73%. That is incredible. That's huge in a market. I want to share a couple of national stats with you on OTT in case you weren't following it. In 2019, 37% of people were cord cutters or cord nevers. Cord cutters meaning that they had cut the cord from cable and satellite or other providers, and then cord nevers were younger generation that just never subscribed to, not necessarily younger, but just people who'd never subscribed. When people say they don't have television in their house, I'm like, what? How do you live? But anyway, that's just me. But 37%, that was 2019. Post-pandemic, 2021, 42% nationwide, 42%. And it is projected to be 45% by 2024. Now, that doesn't seem like a big jump, but you got to remember there are millions of households in those percentages. So if you think you can continue to avoid buying OTT or find that the value of OTT over the top streaming isn't important in your messaging, you may be asking yourself what happened. Whereas at Nexstar, we ask the question, and I know Lindsay asks it every day, what's next? How can we help you? Here's what we're doing. Here's the investment that we're making. Lindsay, I want to do a little recap on what we discussed today. You don't believe the amount of notes. I look like a mad scientist here with my notes all over the place. But before we do that, if there's a user or viewer that's watching right now, how can they find you, Lindsay?
They can find me. My email address is lwells-putt@fox59.com. You can also look up my name, Lindsay Wells-Putt, on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Love to talk to anybody that has any questions.
Oh, great. Thank you. And this is the part of the show we call my final thoughts, if you will. So I just want to share a couple of things. One, from the outset, we were talking about search. It is a necessary evil. It has to be part of your marketing campaign. But you gave some great advice there. You said if you can't get 50% or better, then really focus some of that money that you can't spend or can't afford to spend in key searches, do that in retargeting. So that was very interesting. This is, I think, the best takeaway of the day. Don't buy off your own behavioral patterns. How many times have we sat in front of an advertiser and they go, well, I don't watch that, or I don't subscribe to that, or I'm not on that platform. Well, are you the customer? Are you who you want to reach? And I love that you mentioned that. Don't buy your own behavioral targeting. You also said, if you want Google Analytics, if you want to reach that, especially like at a university or one of those that are more difficult to find, is get with the IT person who manages that particular department. I love that. No one has given advice like that, Lindsay. No one. In 16 episodes, it does work. I love it. I know you know it works.
Make friends with the IT guy or girl.
Exactly. Or girl. I like how you always clarify. in our world today, because that STEM is everybody, men and women. By the way, that's science, technology. What's the E?
We were not STEM students, so I don't know.
I don't know. I wasn't asking. I was asking Ben. Ben, I'm putting on this. But what is? I don't know what E. Anyway, it stands for something important, and math. That's engineering. See, I knew. Just I'd add Ben. Ben would have it. And by the way, his last name is not Over. It's not Bendover. Just in case anyone was asking. But I digress. So, and the other thing that I love that you said is I won't take your campaign if I can't get Google read-only analytics. So I love that. That's so important. And I am, like I said, I'm going to try to make that a policy across the board for us. Thank you, Lindsay. You know, this is an important conversation on many levels. It's something I'm passionate about because of the fact that I'm the son of an entrepreneur, and my father struggled with marketing and advertising, and I was able to help him find a way to reach his target audience. And this is before the internet. I mean, we're talking, 90s and early 2000s before people really kind of understood what it meant. But unfortunately, my father would not invest in digital technology. He wouldn't build a website. He wanted to go door to door and canvass neighborhoods. And that worked in the 70s and early 80s. You could do that. There's a movie called The Tin Men. That's all they did. They went door to door and sold soffit and fascia. Well, that's what my father did. And unfortunately, my father became very bitter to the world and frustrated because he didn't keep up. And he didn't think about what was next. And so he left himself asking this of what happened to my business, what happened to my industry. And you know what's sad, Lindsay, is I today, and you and I both get to do this. We get to help grow these local businesses. How many times do we get a seat at their Thanksgiving table because they're thankful for us and what we do for them? And there is a line from some Superman where his earthly father dies, and he says, "I have all this power, but I couldn't save him." And I think to myself, I have so much ability to help local businesses, but my father wouldn't let me help him, not in that department. And so don't be the Willie Loman. If you ever seen or read the story of the salesman who just quit trying. Death of a Salesman is the book and the movie and the play. My father became Willie Loman. Don't be Willie Loman. Let Lindsay help you grow your business, help you understand it. Give her the reins. Okay, that's what I did in Indianapolis. I gave her the reins and said, "This is yours. Grow and build this." And she's doing an amazing job. Lindsay, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Well, I loved having you on, and you are one of my favorite people. And she,
I am your favorite. Just go ahead.
I am. You are. Yeah,
She
she asked me to rank people, and I can't rank.
I need a ranking.
Yeah. But I said if I was ranking, you'd be in the top 3. So that's good company.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to thank you for your time today, for sharing with us this very important topic about local businesses, because everything we talked about affects local business. And we've made a commitment both at Fox 59, CBS 4, and Nexstar to helping grow the local economy, because if the local economy is growing, then our local communities are thriving and are growing. And that's our commitment. It's part of our commitment in all of our markets across the country. Well, I hope we solved a mystery for you today around local businesses' challenges and what we see as great opportunity to come. If you have any recommendations or would like us to solve a mystery in the future, please email me at mwest@nexstar.tv and put Marketing Detective in the subject line. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. That does it for today on the Marketing Detective. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another mystery to solve. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Until next time, America, I'm Mitch West.